cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, nah, likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains, I'm the boss, I'm making change. I've been rocking this exchange, popping off and risking things, gonna make a f***ing name. I just wanna be famous, but I don't want that cheap fame. No, I'm not that vain, I just wanna be greatness. 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 Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste it, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. Okay, I'm going off every chance I get. I don't really take a loss, well, I'll admit.
Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Wow. That ended early.
Yay.
Did he spit on your stuff there?
He did. He popped on my phone.
Yeah. Hey, Wheezy. How you doing?
Hey, Stevie. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
That's good. How are
Hey,
you, Jade? Me.
I'm good.
That's good.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
The
Steve-o?
weather's so much cooler here. It's like
Yeah.
in the 80s and low 90s.
We went from like almost 100 degrees and we went to like 70. And now tomorrow we're being told it's supposed to be like 64, I think.
Wow.
So it's like one extreme to the next. It's like, I hate it. And Steve,
I
what's
feel
your
for you.
Steve, what's your weather like?
Nice. It's always nice out here.
70
70 degrees.
Yeah, that's
sweet.
That's good. You suck.
I've been wearing long sleeve shirts all summer. It's great.
Yeah.
Nice. That's sweet.
I need to do short sleeve. So anyway, let's say hi to everybody in the chat after I get my screen back because I just lost it. We have Mad Sloper, Bill H. Mad Sloper, are you washed out in Vegas?
Did it rain in there?
What?
Did it rain in Vegas? I missed that.
There was a hurricane that went up that way?
In Vegas?
It went up.
On the West Coast? I missed that one. I was worried about the one on the East Coast, the two on the East Coast.
Okay. Shane
East
Wyman.
Coast. West Coast.
I missed the West Coast one.
Hello, Aaron. And Aaron, I am so sorry to hear about your puppy dog.
I know that made me cry.
Yeah.
Aaron shot at a guy today.
What?
Well, you put it on Facebook.
Travis DuPont. Kramer is all excited about going to EFD. I wish I was going now. And Joe Adele, if I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I'm sorry. Daniel Rausch, Scott Starbuck, Eric PPG Lear. If you haven't read his comments, just so you're aware, Eric's going to be reading the chat. Leave your drama at the door tonight, guys.
Please.
You can ask questions, and our guest said that he would answer whatever comes up. But just
now, that's a little hypocritical because one of your co-hosts is one of the biggest drama queens in the sport.
Yeah, well,
that's true.
I've got the button on you right now too. So
she's always got it on him. She cuts him out in a second.
Man, double standards.
Linda Anderson, Cope J, Trevor Steele, Jeremy, John Wayne, and Justin. And if I'm missing anybody, I apologize, but I'm scrolling up as quick as I can. And and Randy Milstead finally came out of his garage. So thank you all for joining us again tonight. Looks like our usuals. And Layla Jean Walters. Thank you for joining us. So let's get this show started. Let's introduce Chucky. Time
Hi,
to wake
Chucky.
up.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
So did you go flying today?
On a plane, yes, I did.
On a plane?
Yes.
Steve, did you want to ask, I guess,
Yeah,
a second
I
question?
wanted to kick this off before we start talking about the paramotor worlds and your progression in it. I'm curious about like who's Chucky? Like, what's your background before you got into this? I saw some things on your older YouTubes before you started flying, and it seemed like you were into like quite a lot. And I'm just curious about your background, education, like where you work and what your passions were before that.
Okay. I'll sum it up, not take too long on it, but I basically extreme sports athlete. I came from a background of sports. Normal sports wise would be 16 years of soccer, 10 years of wrestling, a little bit of track and field. And then after high school, college-wise, I went to Washington Community College for 2 years. College really wasn't the thing for me. Became an automotive test technician for like 4 or 5 years at ZF Automotive in Michigan. So a lot of engineering type stuff. And then selling jets for the last 2 years. So now I have a business doing that down here in Florida. So that's how that all kind of worked. But YouTube-wise, like where it all kind of started was obviously wrestling kind of led to like bodybuilding. Bodybuilding kind of led to doing shows. Those shows kind of led to me meeting a lot of different people in the sports world. So we did a lot of different collabs, YouTube videos of that sort. So my earlier YouTube videos were just like random challenges, random events, just kind of anything that I can kind of test my physical abilities with and constantly push the boundaries with that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my growing up, I guess, ish, in summary, in a very, very brief summary.
And how'd you get into aircraft sales?
So my ex,
Because you don't have
yeah,
a private pilot's license or anything, right?
No, I'm 7 hours away from having it. So
Okay.
I'll have it here in a minute. But
Nice.
yeah, an ex-person in my life, her cousin was the manager of the company. He came to something up in Ohio. We got together, we talked a little bit, and he's like, "Hey, would you like to come down, shadow for a day and see how this all works?" And I said, "Sure." So I came down, I shadowed for a full like 10, 12-hour day of watching what someone does in the day of like buying and selling private jets. And it was a very strenuous day, to say the least, a lot to absorb in one day. And then I went back home to Michigan. He hit me up like 3 or 4 days later. He's like, "You have 1 week to make a decision." So no, I've been in Michigan for the last 16 years. Had a house, had everything up there. And he's like, "You need to move down and you have a week to do it." So 4 days into him saying that, came down here and started running a place and basically went to work 2 weeks prior to that text. Or following that text. That's what got me into it. And then, yeah, grinded for the first 9 months, 8-9 months, and quit that job because I realized I could do it on my own. I didn't really need the company to do it with them. So,
Okay.
That's
So
where we are now.
Now you do it privately.
Now I own the company doing it. Yeah.
Okay.
How was that company when you branched off on your own?
They weren't happy because I brought them a lot of money, and then I got sued. That's why I'm going to non-compete for 12 months from the second I left. So I had to wait till basically November 6th to start working again. So that was fun. This has been a fun vacation year, like I said earlier.
I bet. Looks like
So-
Oh, go ahead.
That's all right. I was just wondering, so when did you start flying paramotors? When did you start getting interested in paramotors?
My first flight was interested. Would have been like maybe end of 2018, beginning of 2019. I know my first flight was like August 11th, 2020. Yeah, I do remember that.
And how did you learn?
Self-taught, YouTube, reading,
Okay.
kind of the extent of it.
Yeah.
3 hours of kiting, and the next thing you know, I'm just sitting in a seat in the air, and then figuring out how to figuring out how to come back down to the ground.
And where did you go? And I saw you one of your videos, but it's been a while. Didn't you fly to a restaurant too?
A couple of them, yeah.
What was your first one?
First one was definitely a copycat of the McDonald's from Tucker. That's
So-
the video that got me in. Yeah,
So
let's hear it.
I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but you were the inspiration for my whole flying in a dress deal. Because I never really did it. You put out the McDonald's video, and I've never flown to a McDonald's in my life, but I decided to put up a clickbait response to you. And so I did this. And,
God.
and I didn't think anything of it because I've always just thought of like back then, that's before I even went to my first fly-in or anything. So I didn't think anybody was paying attention. But then when I went to my first fly-in, people were like, where's the dress, Steve? And then it became just a weird gimmick. And it was all because of you.
Why? How did that stem? Why did you do McDonald's and why did you do a dress?
Oh, just because I was being snarky, because I was like, oh, here's another guy doing a McDonald's video. So I just did a clickbait thing, just being a jerk. And it's just because of that thumbnail. Then people started asking me what's with the dress, and I decided to keep it.
Pretty bad.
Now you got the dress.
So yeah.
Pretty bad, Steve.
Back to
didn't even see that.
I didn't get to see it. No. But back to that video, there's so many things that went wrong in that video. It was like looking back now, that was probably one of the worst flights of my entire life. Yeah, there was so many things that went wrong. So many things broke. So many times I just kept trying to get back in the no, absolutely not.
You had got like a used Blackhawk or something. Is that what you had started with?
Yeah, Blackhawk tail and 190 with I think a Kestrel something 3 frame with a Velocity Core 30-meter wing, which I still do have to this day. And it was made for a guy that was obviously like 265, 270 pounds.
How many hours were on it when you bought it? How old was it?
0.7.
0.7 hours? Oh, okay.
0.7 hours, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the crank bolt ended up breaking off like 9 hours in.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
All right. So Bonnie Franz wants to know where you're from in Michigan.
Grozio, a little island 30 miles south of Detroit. My backyard is literally Amherstburg, Canada, if anyone's familiar with that, like Windsor, Amherstburg area.
Oh, cool.
Right across from the Grozio Municipal Airport.
Okay. And Duckspit wants to know, has Chucky ever been fined by the FAA?
Chucky has been fined by the FAA. I don't get out of all my FAA encounters like some other people do. Yeah, I got fined $6,000 actually for a couple of videos, and the way it all stemmed was me going to get my pilot's license, and when I was in the plane for a discovery flight with an instructor, we both didn't have our seatbelt on. I had asked him like, "Hey, is it all right? Like, can we taxi without?" He's like, "Yeah, no worries." Here I am recording it. I posted an entire video on it. We are wearing it while we're flying, but we're not wearing it when we're taxiing, which is complete polar opposite. You wear it while you wear it while you taxi. You don't have to wear it while you're quote unquote flying. And then they found the rest of my videos from that, and then they looked at like, me flying over the Skyway Bridge. There was questionable things of like flying over boats at like 500-600 feet. They couldn't really tell, but there was a lot of gray areas. So we took a lot of the gray areas from like 7 or 8 counts that were on the things that they came to. We brought them down to 3. Gave me a way smaller charge than they had originally anticipated, originally had planned on giving me. And we also talked a lot about like the unregulated stuff within the paramotor community as a whole. And one of the biggest ones that I still hope to have a further conversation with them is that whole flying over people or flying over a car, flying over a boat kind of thing. How planes have a rule where you can obviously, I don't want to take too much time on this, but how planes have a rule where you can fly 500 foot above pretty much over anything, whether it be car related, whether it be boat related, bridge, structure. I think paramotor should have something similar to that, where it's like 750 to like 1,000 feet or 500 feet, somewhere in that threshold where you're able to do it if you need to go somewhere. But if by all means, like you need to get to a certain altitude. But that was something we talked about and actually discussed for like half an hour in my deposition that we had with the FAA. That's an interesting thing that I wonder if they'll actually change or do anything about.
Okay.
Yeah, I think based on what I've kind of understood, they like keeping certain definitions pretty vague. So that way, when they want to decide whether they want to throw a book at somebody or let them go, they can decide what the true definition is. Like, were you over a congested area, or do we not really care about this?
They wrote it just like that, like you just said, on purpose. It's supposed to be stupid written and read, but it's unfortunately a very smart way of doing it.
So Trevor Steele wants to know, how does someone get as ripped as you are?
Well, you first start off by going to the gym. and eat it
Okay,
correctly.
that's already too much. I had to quit jogging because the ice cubes kept falling out of my glass.
So how many
Yeah,
days a
very
week
much
do you
for
go
that.
to the gym?
I go like 5-6 days. I train pretty rigorously. I've been training for like the last 11, 12 years. Obviously, I've got good genetics from my father, but overall, like majority of my frame that I've built is from a lot of hard work and a lot of correct dieting over the years. Like it sucked, like not being able to enjoy a lot of foods between like the ages of 19 and 24, just because I was trying to be as strict as I can and try to get quote unquote the best shape of my entire life. I don't know for what reason, but just to kind of see what was physically capable at that point in time. Now I just more or less train for strength and not all looks, just more or less just to be strong and healthy and be pretty much unbreakable-ish.
So you told me in the pre-show that being the bodybuilder, that's the most unhealthy thing, basically.
Doing the physique competitions and the bodybuilding shows are when you're bringing your body down to that very, very low body fat percentage for that kind of amount of time. And the way that people do it, starving themselves, dehydrating themselves, it's just very, very, very unhealthy. And there's a lot of things that hormonally go on within your body that you might not sometimes be able to come back from. It happens to a lot of girls. They have a lot of issues post-show, a lot of issues.
Okay.
You know, I said somebody to the gym the other day, I was like, behold the power and forge your body in the fire of your will. And he was like, dude, is that from the Bible? And I was like, no, it's Spider-Man, you jerk. Now get out of my way. It's a true story.
Wendy Weaver wants to ask, being self-trained, would you share with us your sketchiest or scariest flight?
One was a McDonald's flight. It's still out there for people to watch. Another one that was kind of scary, me not knowing winds, being on gear that was way not unsafe, just the gear is not, it's the unsafe part. It was the wing that was not meant for my size and me going up in wind conditions that I was not aware that were not ideal for me to fly in yet, just obviously just me not knowing. So I went for a flight out of the Grosvenor airport and I headed out. It was probably like a 10, 12 mile an hour wind coming out of the west. And I head out east, going out over the water, going to an island. It's pretty big. You can land out there. It's open space. But as I did that, I turned around. This is the first time I realized, like, holy crap, headwind, and trimmed out on a 30-meter wing when you're only winging like 195 at the time. Yeah, I was stuck over the water for like 40 minutes just trying to penetrate to get back to land. I did not know how to do it. I didn't know how to get back, so I was just consistently changing out to trying to find a way to get back. That was probably one of the scarier ones, just for the fact that I was like, wow, like it's going to suck because I know I'm going in the water. Like I'm not making it back to land. So do I just like backpedal and go somewhere else? But I can't because Canada's behind me. I can't physically go over that border into Canada to go land. Even if it's an emergency situation, it's not really like highly looked well upon.
Go ahead.
Travis wants to know, do you use flotation over water and do you take steroids?
I do not take steroids, and nor will I ever take any kind of testosterone booster or steroids, and that's been a big controversy in my life. And question, I've been asked that question probably 200 times in my life to Travis. No, I do not take steroids to answer your question. And flotation, no at the beginning, and then the more I started doing a lot more Florida over water flying, yes, I started to strap them on. And then there would be instances where I just didn't wear them because I'm going over water for like a short 200-300 foot. You know, I'm high enough. I'm not really worried about it. But majority of the time, if I'm flying over any large body of water for over like a minute or two, depending on the length of the water gap, I tend to want to keep my flotation with me. But it's 9 times out of 10, I normally have it if I'm going over the water.
All right. And James, I believe Chucky had a good experience at Bad Apples. Is he considering other fly-ins in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a little incident at Bad Apples, but I mean, I'm not going to bring too much light to that, but someone got up in my face when I landed and I wasn't too fond about that. And it could have gone really south very, very quickly, but,
was he a gorilla?
Yeah, I think something like that. See, up in
Okay.
trees or on trees and trike. They both start with a T. I don't know. But yeah, but we supposedly worked that all out. So we'll find out in the
I think you
future.
were there a day
Yeah,
before I showed up.
I was. Yeah, I got there on like Thursday.
Yeah, I was only there a day and a half this year.
Wendy the Explorer also, how long did it take you to get the guts to fly over water? And did you wear flotation when you first attempted flying over water?
No, I did not wear the guts. I don't know. That was just, there was never really a fear of flying over the water. Obviously, probably because I've never gone down in it or just had the fear of water. But I guess the scariest time I've ever flown over water, or what got me flying over water, was I took a flight from Newport, Michigan, and my goal was to fly to 10,000 feet. This is when I was still after like an altitude chasing thing in my head. I've always wanted to go high when I first got into the sport. So I'm probably like 6 miles into a lake, no land anywhere near. That's probably like the most feared I've ever been fearful I've ever been being over water, was in that flight. And I ended up being in Ohio by the end of that flight, and ended up having to crawl my way back, and had an engine out, or I guess I ran out of fuel in my buddy's backyard. That was kind of a fun end of that flight.
What's your highest flight you've ever taken?
17.5.
17.5, exactly.
Yeah. 17,400 or 477 or something like that. Yeah, he knows it's like just off of there. And I had the like most inefficient wing too at that time. I had like 160 hours on it and all that.
So tell us about that flight. Was it cold? How cold was it?
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, it was cold. My face was fine. My hands were actually relatively good if I didn't have to keep taking it on and off to constantly check the GoPro or the altitude. Spatial awareness wise, my head wise, like cognitively wise, I was completely all there. Like, remember watching the footage back after I had gotten down, I'm like, I remember everything I did. I did little cues with my hands too, and like movements, just to make sure like I was actually getting a good like connection to like having enough oxygen in my head. I'm like, I know where I'm at. And then I checked obviously my hypoxic, whatever, my little meter thing to check where my blood O2 was actually at, and it was never dropped below like 83, 84 the whole time. So but yeah, it was cold. I mean, it was freezing. My chest actually got the most cold, and I had like 5 layers on, so that was very interesting. Everything else was warm though.
All right.
So you've spent a couple trips with Trevor Steele now, most recent one, doing some more training with him. Do you want to elaborate more on like your goals that you've been kind of setting for yourself lately with flying, what you're trying to work on? Maybe things that you've learned from Trevor from a big perspective to just including a flying perspective, if that's changed your perspectives, attitudes, or whatnot.
So stunts aside, doing dumb videos and all that stuff, viral crap, just focusing on flying and flying alone, not advanced training, not doing acro, none of that kind of stuff. I've taken away a lot of the safety aspects of it, like especially out west flying. I mean, not that it applies necessarily to me in Florida, but it applies regardless, like the fundamentals of flying. Inspecting and checking my gear a little bit more frequently, actually checking the weather and knowing the weather aloft, and then just having an overall understanding of everything and how everything works, like the way the wind reacts in certain times of day, midday flying, like just a lot of things I didn't know being self-taught. But I think the more time I spend out there, the more I'm actually wanting to learn kind of where you're actually headed to as paragliding wise. I got a harness while I was out there, and I'm like, I think that's the next true step in learning, not progression of paramotoring, but learning how to become a better pilot with a wing above my head. It is like learning the paragliding kind of fundamental way. I'm not answering your question in the best way possible right now. I'm just trying to think like my goals and like what my aspirations were from actually what I've retained from Trevor. And an abundance of knowledge, I can tell you that much. I mean, I've got most of it sort of in my head. Somehow I'm not able to present that right now. Can't put
Do you
two
plan
and two
to go
together.
back? Do you plan to go back and spend more time with Trevor?
Yeah, I mean, he might be coming down and training some people here in Florida. I told him he can come stay here for 2 weeks. I have 5 or 6 buddies in Michigan that are going to come down and possibly get trained for him for like 1 or 2 weeks. So we'll do some flying down here, go to the Keys and do some flying and stuff like that. But I'm definitely going to go back out to Utah. I'm going to probably spend at least 2 months out of every year, at least either Utah, Oregon, or Washington, because I want to get into paragliding, and obviously I can't really do that here.
Yeah. Point of the Mountain is going to be a great place for it. It's crowded, but you're not going to land in a tree.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
You've got to avoid 75 other people flying at the same time.
Yeah, I noticed that on the north side in Salt Lake City. That was wild. There was like legit 35, 45 people up there, and I'm like, it's kind of interesting to know how much spatial awareness these guys have. If those are paramotor pilots in that small of a space, it just isn't feasible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the questions. Mad Sloper wanted to know if you had any plans to try PG, or have you flown PG already? Have you flown PG already?
I've been underneath the glider without my motor twice, and I've probably been in the air for like 40 seconds because I jumped off a hill that was like 1,500 feet, 1,200 feet, something like that. Yes, I have huge intentions to start paragliding. That's going to be a larger focus. Probably won't make a lot of videos on it, but that's something I want to do just to kind of enjoy being like, it's like a soul part of the experience of flying for me. Like that's something I want to go out and just enjoy, relax, listen to music, and just literally learn real flying. That's, to me, that's like real flying, I guess, in my eyes, definition wise.
It's sort of how I felt about it too, which is why I'm excited to do it. But
So
paramotor flying
Yes.
wise, is there anything that you're trying to do in the near term, maybe acrobatic wise, or anything that does come with some risk?
I mean, other than I didn't post most of my training yet, but I mean, I learned some minute wing overs and stuff like that. We got some full wing overs in. I'd like to learn barrel rolls, but that's down the road. I know my skills aren't there for that kind of thing yet. Stats, maybe just to try it once, just to say I might do an SIV course. Yeah, to sum that question up, probably an SIV course to kind of further my skills. But no, like anything stunt wise or to be flashy at a fly-in or anything like that. No, I can care less. I'm just out here to go fly. A little bit of low maneuvering, but not anything like crazy or like hard. No, more or less cross country and a little bit of light acro, like on the scheme of things, very, very light. Probably less than even what you do.
How
So
was
you've not done an SIV?
Yeah, I have.
Me?
Yeah.
No,
You've
you
not
don't do
done
any
one?
acro at all. Oh, me?
You've not done an SIV
No,
class?
no, not yet.
How was your first wing overs that you were doing? What was going in your mind? How'd you feel about those? Was it like, it's a little too much, or
Yeah, I guess like so obviously I have Trevor in my ear telling me, I'm thinking like I'm all the way over, and he's like, you need to continue holding it, like, keep pushing, like way more vivid instructions than how I'm describing it right now. But like he's like, no, keep holding, a little bit more power. I was very hesitant. I didn't want to give it more power. I didn't want to pull harder. I like didn't. My brain's like, I don't want to go into it because I'm waiting for the outside tip to collapse. Like I've just seen so many collapses. I'm just like, I'm waiting for it to collapse, even though I know the odds of it not reinflating, and I have a reserve. But yeah, I think I don't know, Trevor, if he has to pop a question up on here. I think I maybe had like 2 or 3 successful ones, but it's a weird feeling in my brain, like especially being a little bit. I don't know if being heavier changes anything, but like it just feels like I'm like large inside of the harness, and I don't know. It just feels weird. Like.
All right. So hang on, I gotta scroll back up. Why is Jeremy asking you how warm the pond is at Bad Apple?
Because I went into it.
everything's better when wet?
Did you know there's
Yeah.
leeches in there? Ew.
Whatever. They weren't on me, so.
There's a few people that have been in the pond.
Yeah, there was 5 or 6 this year.
Yeah. James,
I was more actually. I was more annoyed at the pond thing. Not that I know that no one could really do anything, but I was more annoyed that everyone there was like 25, 30 people that came up and wanted to film. Not that I'm not okay, but no one asked if I was all right. It's more or less just like, oh my gosh, I got Chucky inside of a pond. This is amazing. And I was like, that's kind of effed up, actually. Like I'm literally looking around. My GoPro's like filming. Like I have all the content from there that I'd never even posted because I was like, this is kind of the darker side that I just don't want to post. I'm like, that's kind of messed up that not one person, maybe like one person like offered me a hand. I was like, okay. Gotcha. Everyone's got their phones out, but no one can help. But everyone else that wanted to walk in,
look at them coughing up water. Yeah.
Yeah, no, literally.
That's just not
No,
nice.
I didn't care. Like I could get out. I'm fine. I don't care. But it's just like everyone else got help but me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's not nice. That's bad manners.
right. James wants to know with the size of your
Whoa. Next question.
Back up.
your size, are you considering maybe a cage that can swing a 140 prop in the future? Is your MAV only swinging a 125 prop now?
Yeah, it's spinning a 125. I got to test. I've flown the Mav Max. I love it. I could spin a 140 on there. I really want to try a Max Fly. I want to see what this hype is all about. So Trevor's got me kind of turned on him. A couple other people that have posted some videos on him. Those things are looking kind of promising.
Bonnie wants to know what equipment do you have now?
Just a Maverick 185. I think it's a My 22.
What's your wing?
And your wing?
It's a 22 Speedster 3.
Okay.
And I'm 205, so 205 pounds, 206 pounds.
So you're
Jeremy
fairly
wants to
loaded on that.
know. about your YouTube creative process. How do you turn your ideas into videos? What planning and research, etc.?
It's wild. I'll take things from like a bodybuilding world. I'll take things from like random vloggers that do like random dumb challenges, and I'll see how I can like co-integrate it with paramotoring. Or I kind of look at things like on a map. I'll literally be looking like, okay, can I fly to this spot? Can I do an activity at this spot? Can I make this into a video? Like I think there's more energy and time put into me thinking about how to create whatever I'm about to go do versus actually doing the flying attribute of it. Like the idea is the hard part, but I guess the way I go about it is I'll watch videos, I'll get an idea. Somebody does it in a car, a motorcycle, a scooter, or something related to a water sport, something like that. And I'm trying to see how can I integrate it and you do it with a paramotor versus how people are like normally doing it with, like I said, any of the other kind of vehicles. And that's kind of how I get my ideas, is brainstorming off other people's ideas ish. I probably come out with my own idea maybe 3 times out of 10, 4 times out of 10.
One of the questions that Jeremy was wanting me to ask is, what's your current like status on like your personal risk assessment, like going forward? Are there things that you're like, I'm never taking this approach this way again? Am I dialing it down, or I want to still try some other things? Like overall in the course of the year, has your mind changed about risk?
I think going forward, I try to mitigate it. Obviously, as anyone gets older, you tend to get a little bit wiser. I still want to progress. So my mind's open to the learning process of newer things. And I understand that there's going to be potential that there's either a crash or a collapse or something of that sort. Obviously, I'm trying to mitigate it the best way I can moving forward. But we all know that's not a 100% guarantee. But overall, I don't think I'm pushing the sport in an acro level or anything that's going to really put me in a point where I'm scared to continue to progress on the things that I'm working towards. And those things would be like mission flying, or like, just kind of like fun video ideas, or I don't know. It's just all going to come down to the creative idea that I come up with. But risk wise, no, I don't think I'm slowing down anytime soon. I don't think I'm going the opposite way and I'm going to digress and chill in this big old safe zone. I'm still in that middle to like higher up, but I'm liking to chill in the middle right now.
What about for your mission flights and when you're doing long XCs, are you is your thought process and the planning of it going to be any different compared to what you've done in the past? Like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be like 10 minutes away from an out, or things to that nature?
That's a good question, dude. That's a really good question. It's hard because I put so much trust in that motor that obviously can take a crap any point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I've never had the issues where it just dies on me on power yet. It sucks because I need to have that more to like reassure me that it does, and it will probably happen. Yes, but no, I think a little bit, I could take a little bit more planning when it comes to the route and how far of a distance I'm going to have for and out. I'm sure there's going to be times where I'm flying above a tree line and I'm 10 foot above a tree line that goes for like a mile. I'm sure of it. And I'm here just hoping and trusting my motor. Or I'm flying downwind, going over the water like I've done, 60 miles an hour, and I'm like a half a foot above the ocean. If I go down, I go down. Like if my motor died, like I'm screwed, trimmed out. Like, yeah, I think there's going to a little bit more risk assessment in that kind of stuff. I'll analyze and put myself in better situations versus just having a quick amount of fun to gain 20 miles an hour or fly low over a tree line here and there.
The other Nick wants to know what part of Florida you're from.
Sarasota. I was born in Miami, so I lived there the first 10 years of my life, and then Michigan the rest, and then I just moved back down.
For work.
Yeah.
Bonnie wants to know, other than winter, why would you move from Michigan to Florida? Well, you answered that kind of.
Some family in Miami. My grandmother lives in Miami. Other than that, yeah, it's just work. And I guess I get to fly in the wintertime, which honestly, I never really appreciated not caring about snow that much. But I'm obsessed with snowboarding, which kind of blows too. But Michigan's not a snowboarding state. You want to go snowboarding, go out west.
Yeah.
Jeremy wants to know who's faster, Chucky on one wheel or his dog?
That dog is Hank's so much faster. Yeah.
What kind of dog is Hank?
He's so much faster. Hank, come here. He's a Catahoula. Come here, Hools. We'll put him on the podcast. Come here. This dude runs like 35 miles an hour. Come here. This is the Hanksters right here.
Oh, oh he's like a big old dog. Oh, look, he's got different colored eyes.
He's a big dude. He's like 70 pounds.
So what is he?
He's a Catahoula. They're like
What'd you call him?
cat call. No, Catahoula. They're out of Louisiana. They're kind of a cattle dog, but mainly a bird dog.
Oh, okay. Aaron, I ask him why he feels the need to free climb.
You might mean free fly.
It's like free fly. What? And is juice is worth the squeeze, but it can't be.
We should have Aaron retype that question.
Yeah. Aaron, you're drunk. Go home.
I can't even try to guess what he's trying to say.
Besides Trevor Steele, who's kind of helped you out the most, or you found that's most helpful?
Mike Potter when I first got started, and there was another guy, dude, I cannot remember him for the life of me. It's Matt or something like that in Michigan. Who else is actually? Jeremy actually was kind of helpful when I first got started too up in Michigan. Jeremy's been a helpful hand. He's been very neutral and everything too, which I've always respected. He gave his viewpoint, never held back. Who else? Trying to think off the top of my head. There's some names I just can't think of them off the top of my head because it was probably about a year and a half ago. There was a lot of positive reinforcement on my stupidity. At my stupidest, lowest times, there's a lot of people that were still trying to be positive, and I respect and appreciated that at that point in time. That was nice. I'm like, I know there's a point in time where I need to settle down and stop doing stupid shit, and there comes the FAA just knocking at my door. I'm like, here it is.
Yeah, it's nice that you brought that up because, I mean, I'll admit, like, personally, sometimes, like, I'd get, like, really resentful thinking, like, man, if I did some of those things, those people would just ostracize me. But maybe that was, like, a wrong assumption on my part. I've always assumed, like, if I made a mistake, like, people would just, like, throw the book. I'd lose my friends. Like, I didn't realize maybe people can actually be pretty forgiving, you know, and give second chances and stuff like that. Or thirds or fourths or fifth.
Like 13, 14, yeah.
Travis DuPont wants to know if you've ever flown it up by Navarre, Florida. He's going up there for vacation and he's going to bring his paramotors. It's up in the Panhandle.
I flew is it Pensacola? No, not Pensacola. Where the hell is it? It's New Samara Beach. I flew it. So, New Samara Beach. I don't know where that is. Is that Daytona? No, it's not Daytona. That's fucking East Coast. New Samara Beach. So, like, the most northwest you can go in Florida, basically.
And I want to put in a quick disclaimer about Navarre, Florida. So Navarre, Florida is actually a very, very tightly controlled, precious LZ. If anybody wants to fly there, you can, but you got to get with Jacques Burton. Jacques Burton's super easy to work with. He's super chill. He's a super nice guy. He put up with me. I'll just tell you that. But
you hear that, Travis?
His area does have some very sensitive things. He's active in working with a local military base. He has a house right at the LZ pretty much. It's great, but just ring up Jacques Burton. If you forget the name, buzz me. I'll send you over to him. But
it's pretty there.
Yeah,
it's really pretty.
It's a great spot. It's tightly controlled, but just get with the smart guy there if you try flying there.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Sloper said, let Chucky know that he can paraglide in Miami through Miami Paragliding. They offer tow training.
So tow up and ride some thermals all day. Sounds like the bumpiest ride of my life, and it sounds like some good adaptation to bump tolerance, 100%.
Yeah.
Although, don't they like to ride thermals? Isn't that their whole
Yeah,
deal?
that's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Well, it's not like everybody enjoys riding thermals. You have to get your lift. the first time my instructor went paragliding in Brazil and hit like level 10 thermals, I mean, he was scared to death, but you eventually get used to it, apparently.
And then you're going to get back in a paramotor and be like, oh, this is nothing.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you what, right now, the first time I ever ride successfully my first thermal and gain some serious altitude, y'all are going to know about it. I'm going to be the best in the world. You ain't going to
And you're going to Italy next?
And he's going to be saying,
I may be loaded, but I ain't rich.
John Wayne says that he's got a dog just like yours, or Louisiana State.
Yeah, hunt hogs. My bad.
Okay.
This one hunts birds, but his hunts they're meant to hunt hogs. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
my little dog hunts squirrels and whatever he can get.
And my
whatever he can
hand.
catch. Yeah, and chickens and whatever he can get a hold of.
No, he didn't do the chickens.
No, he didn't, but he would if I would have let him. He would have had a chicken.
Yeah, Mad Sloper says, yeah, you need to put up with the bumps to stay up.
Yeah, that's it.
So tell me about, where did I see you go? Brazil?
Brazil at the beginning of the year, yeah. Danielle's like, come out here, we'll go flying. And then I'm like, I've never been to Brazil. So was out there for like 2.5, 3 weeks. And
Wow.
that was pretty fun. Flying out there, I only got 1 day of literal flying. So that was unfortunate. Weather was just not super cooperative. Sunny, but just the winds were just way too violent. But I got to go to the top of a favela, which was a wild experience. So
Cool. So I've got a question about your past with some controversy. Why were people upset with saying, oh, he moved from Michigan, now he's down in Florida, and he's going to have us lose our LZs? What was that?
that's guerrilla. That's 100% guerrilla.
Okay.
Which is, so I don't really understand where this guy was coming from. It actually happened at Bad Apples again, too. He's like, you're getting us kicked out of LZs, blah, 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 left and right, which is very, very funny considering the fact that the LZs that I use aren't even known by any other pilots, like, except for like one of them. And what I was doing out of this one was taking off and leaving or practicing touch and goes on an empty afternoon with no cars. Nobody's even in the park. But overall, most of my spots for my mission flights are kind of just one-off locations. Like, no one knows about them. I normally have to one-wheeler. I kind of truck back into like a woods. I literally go on like Google Maps, like most of us probably do, and I kind of look up a spot, and I'm like, okay, this seems like a cool kind of spot. Kind of, logistically put away in a corner, away from everyone else. I'm not going to pretty much bother anybody. And I don't know where this guy is getting this information from. I don't know if it's the bottom of a can that's allowing that kind of verbiage to come to light. But yeah, I don't know what he meant by that at all.
Okay.
Yeah, and
It was interesting.
I know when I tried doing a trip to do some Florida beaches, I had a hard time finding stuff that was going to be, well, it was a mix between where I could camp and where I could, like, people could just tell me, like, hey, you can fly here, you can do that, this place is cool. But I know up in like Oregon, say Chucky like moved up here and was like, man, I want to try some coastal flying. And I'm just going to find a beach I don't see anybody in. It's not going to be a big problem. I'm not going to tick anybody off. And I didn't know, but like until I came here and people in the state were like, actually, Dell screwed up the entire coast for us. And because this was where he was shooting birds, he was doing all sorts of stuff. And then when locals got mad, he started running his mouth and just made them madder. So Washington and Oregon, they just kind of shut it all down. Well, since then, we actually do have secret spots. But if you go out there, like those secret spots were curated by paramotorists who actually worked with the locals and was like, hey, it's just me and my buddies. We ain't going to piss anybody off. Can you? And so they kind of like grown it. But if you were to go to like an empty beach, which happened recently out here a couple months ago, and just like fly and think you're not going to bother anybody, if a city manager or somebody sees you, what happened 2 months ago is some guys were coming down the coast going from Washington to California, and they went into some like empty areas they thought wasn't going to be a big deal. City managers started calling, and it's not like those guys created the problem. The problem is they started calling, say, like the port of Tillamook, where I'm from, and it's like, these guys are an issue. All of a sudden, the trainer's getting called and everybody's getting super fussy about it again. So especially like up here, the major rule is like, if you want to do anything coastal, just call a person. We can tell you where you can go without making somebody mad.
That's so frustrating because down here, obviously, like most spots, you can go and you can fly almost anywhere you want. You want to go over the beach, just go out over the water, completely fine. Most places, I mean, it's too densely populated too. I feel like there's 23 million people in this freaking state. So,
well, and I think part of the problem with new people coming in is we just don't understand the history of what, a lot of our problems today, whether it's Florida or here, is caused from people 10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That were like really screwing around, really pissing people off, running their motors next to rich people's beach houses that has some sway. And so when we come into it now, it's like, hey, I'm not over people or houses. Why can't I fly here? And we don't understand, the history and context. So that way, when we end up doing it and everybody in the community is mad thinking that we're going to, ruin their LZs, unfortunately, the history never gets taught in the sport of all the people who screwed up before us and why we got even a little bit more restricted.
Which sucks because someone's coming to a new location. They're like, okay, I'm going to follow FAR 103. That's all I have to do. And if they just follow that, they're like, oh, but they're clear. And then they make a post or something in a group. Everyone's bashing them in their head. They're like, what did I do that's so wrong? Like, what did I do? Like, I didn't break any rules. It's like, well, no, you broke the unspoken rules that were implanted here 10, 15 years ago that no one told you about because you didn't ask. But is it their responsibility to ask, or should be? I wonder if there's just like a place we could go to like look up versus having a call or contact. Like we just have like written rules in different states. Like we have a page where just like all these different areas. Here's where you can kind of fly. Blah blah blah. I mean, it would take some time to make, but it would.
My friends have found some paragliding apps that do that. But even in paragliding, like say you went solo in paragliding today, you're gonna have, and say you did the same thing. Just hey, I think I get it. I'm gonna go fly here. I think you would have an even worse time because there's sites that require USHPA insurance, P ratings. Those guys are even more. Most paramotor people, if you just come to them and you're a decently chill dude and you just ask a few questions, you'll make a friend pretty fast.
Yeah.
I've kind of seen in the paragliding world, there is some serious divisions and stuff. And I mean, I don't know the culture of it too much yet, but I've seen that some of their drama can even be worse than the paramotor group.
Way worse.
Really?
From what I've seen, from what Kristen actually told me, it can get pretty bad.
Wow.
Just talking to those guys out in Utah, they take it very seriously, and they're like, don't fuck out anything. They're like, pardon my French, but they're like, don't fuck anything up out here. Like, not towards me, but like just telling some of the new guys that were coming out there for their first flight, they're like, fly here, don't leave here for however, like, they're just strict because they don't want their shit getting taken away. Like, I don't blame them. I get it.
I've had those guys go to me even when I've tried to approach them very humbly and say, hey, I'm just a noob. I'm a motorist. I'm just getting into this. And I'll have one guy that's my best friend, and I'll have another guy that's like, you better follow the rules. And,
Yeah, and they mean it. So,
which at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to, lose those spots. Where I am in Tillamook, I don't travel very often anymore. So my spots are all I get. So if I lose some awesome cape on the beach, I just can't go to a new one. So I kind of get it, but I do think as a community, we need be a little bit better that when you're getting training or you're talking to people online, people just reiterate like, hey, make a few friends and call some people like, hey, you want to go fly in this state? Here's your guy to call. You can have a fun time with them. You won't piss anybody off. But we're horrible at coaching that, and really getting in your head that if you're brand new, you don't know what you don't know.
We're great at post coaching.
Yeah. And I'm not saying this to preach to say like, excuse your mistakes or justify, myself. But I think overall we kind of suck at getting the good knowledge out there for people who travel that they really should have. Like, hey, I'm going to go out of state. I need to send a quick Facebook message to somebody and then boom, I'm good to go. And
yeah,
I
respect the guys that post to the group that are be like, hey, I'm going out here. I'm going to be trying to fly these areas. And then the group starts going. It's like, that's good. That's good. Like, I think that's helpful. But does everyone post immediately when they want to? Some people I think are nervous to post inside the group too.
They're nervous because especially, before you and I were really in it, like it used to be much worse with infighting. I mean, it was
Really?
horrible. People just dogged and trashed. Like, it was 10 times worse than what it is today. And I've trolled you horribly. It used to be worse than that. But I think there's a bunch of us that we, at the very minimum, even if we're wrong, we're starting to get to a period where many of us aren't taking ourselves so seriously like they did the last decade. So we're able to come back and be like, was I wrong about that? Yeah, okay.
West side is west side. I'm going to argue that west side is not the west side.
No, do we?
What'd she do?
She's going like this.
I didn't do anything.
Are you making fun of me?
No.
Oh, I put the wrong thing up.
Do we have any videos of Chucky?
Steve, do you?
I mean, he's got a YouTube channel. You guys don't have anything pulled up?
I don't.
Hang on.
Lordy Lord.
The time I couldn't get mine.
I love you, Steve.
Steve, is the next step. I mean, I talked to Trevor about it. I think the next step after paragliding, I think it'd be like kind of mixed with it, is going to be speed flying. I talked to Carl out there. That's like the next like biggest venture. It's kind of scary, but it's kind of like welcoming in a terrifying way.
If I was younger, I would try speed flying. I think it is so cool.
I don't want to speed fly. I don't want to take a fast sledder.
Oh man, I think.
I get the appeal, but
yeah.
I mean, maybe after I do paragliding, I'll.
Not like carving the canyons. You don't have to barrel rolling right in between. Like, I'm just talking like you're like 1,000 foot above any kind of terrain. You're just coming down massive.
Just coming down fast. Yeah.
I mean, you know how to land fast. It's pretty much come your ass and you just glide it out. But I mean, I just seem like you just have so much more glider control once you've learned to have that kind of glider control.
Yeah.
Have you skydived yet?
Yeah. I mean, not by myself. I've gone 6-7 times though. I mean,
okay.
I need to go by myself.
Does your girlfriend fly?
She does not, but she's getting into the sport. And I told her, I'm like, you do realize like there's like very few women that do the sport. And she's like, oh, really? I thought there was she went for her first tandem actually last week with Matteo on South Beach, Miami.
Yeah, she needs to get into it. There's not a lot of women that fly.
Yeah, her first experience was face planting the ground.
Well, that happens. My first experience was getting dragged backwards.
Jeremy wants to know, have you thought about doing Team Fly Halo's water landing training?
No, but I think that's the one Jeremy did. So he's probably like, Chucky, you should do what I did. I'm like, I'm down to do any SIV. I don't really, I'm open to anything. It's regardless. Either that or whatever one's out in Cali that Trevor just went and did. And then isn't there another one here in Florida too? I think it's Fuller's, but I've heard great things. I've heard not so great things. So at an SID course, I want to hear relatively good things.
Right. And what's your most favorite flight?
Gosh damn it.
That's a hard thing.
Yeah, watch your mouth. This is a kid's show.
It's like, gosh dang it. I don't know, man.
Keys? I want to learn more about the keys too. And what?
I don't even know how to answer this one.
Now that's a long drive, really long drive for you. You have to fly.
No, the Keys was cool. It wasn't the best flight.
No?
No, it was crystal clear water, but it was not the best. I think some of my, I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't have a favorite flight yet, I guess. I think there's like 3. I think 2 of my favorite flights were like within my first 5 flights ever flying, just because I was fully engulfed in I was like, this is so magical. Like when you first start, it's that endorphin release. And obviously as you do it more and more and more, you don't get the same kind of release. So I think when I was fresher in the sport, the first couple of flights were just like incredible. Like I was just so stoked to be getting up in the air and then landing. It's just like, you don't get that as you continue doing it for years. Like it's always fun. We're getting up, we go fly, we land, but it's like when you first start, it's like nothing ever feels like when you first started.
Okay.
John Wayne said squirrel suit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, eventually. I mean, I'm down for that. That's less scary to me than speed flying is. 100%.
We need to get out of Florida then.
Yeah, Florida's not the place for anything we're talking about, other than paramotoring.
Unless you're doing it off of a skyscraper.
That's
What,
still not enough
I
time for
don't-
a
I don't-
squirrel suit.
what are some deficiencies that you've heard about SIV training? Like, what have you heard
Deficiencies?
that could be lacking on places you could go without naming anybody?
Like bad things that happen inside of SIVs?
Well, I know about accidents and stuff like that. Is that what you're kind of thinking? Like, hey, I know of some incidents.
No. People can die, whether it's in a training or an SIV course.
Yeah.
More or less, I really want a good coach that's going to represent and teach me during that process, obviously underneath a stressful situation. Because there could be some, I don't know, I've only know like 3 or 4 instructors, but I'm assuming I just want something that's overall, I want to be able to do like 5 or 6 or 7 toes in a day. And I want to go somewhere I can get a lot of repetition in, because a lot of these guys go and they do it like, they get like 1 or 2 reps in and they're tired, they're beat. I want to be able to go out there and just get repetition and learn a lot of different situations.
Yeah,
I saw that thing where they were using a scrap motor or the Scout Carbon with no, or maybe it had a motor on it, and they were pushing people right off the boat, like face first, and they were having them hold their breath and get out of the harness. And I saw that on some chick's Instagram. I was like, that actually seems kind of helpful, like having a scrap frame, not being in too deep in water, but like getting pushed in face forward and figure out how to get out of the harness is kind of I was like, that's actually pretty helpful. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, Max Acro is like the next big one in California, if you haven't heard of him.
Are there just 2 in the United States?
No, there's
No.
more, but those are sort of the 2 most active that I'm aware of. Max Acro, he's Max Marion's a paragliding guy, and he's highly rated for doing that kind of stuff.
See, that's where somewhere I'd kind of want to go. I want someone that's constantly doing it on a weekly basis. Like they're busy working 6-7 days out of a week. Not someone that's like, oh yeah, I haven't done an SIV training class in like 3 months, but come on over.
Yeah. I kind of
There's
just
2
want
I've heard of.
Anthony Fuller to see his pigs and ducks at his house. That's the only reason why I want to do this SIV.
He's like an hour from me too, which is nice.
Tell me about your para camping.
Oh God, I can't talk about. I mean, I could talk about that one. I wasn't legally allowed to camp on that island. I found that out because I know the guys that when I flew over Egmont Key, they contacted me. They're like, "Yeah, you can't fly over this." And then the signs were down from the hurricane, so I didn't know anything about. So Jewfish Key, it's actually a naked island, so you're allowed to go out there and you'll see in the summertime, girls and guys of all ages are butt ass naked on this little island. But no one's there this night. Landed there. Wind started to pick up that night, 19, 20, 25, like throughout the night. Extreme. It was a bird sanctuary. I was not aware that there was no birds until the nighttime came. There was a crap ton of birds. That's all I heard all night. It was like 38, 42 degrees, cold November something Florida night, which was very, very rare. I have sweatpants on, some shorts. I brought a towel as a blanket because I was trying to pack as light as I could. I throw my wing bag over my like I'm legit freezing. I'm like right there in the Gulf of Mexico on a little tiny island. Like I have the whole thing on my hard drive. I'd love to be able to post it one day. I might post it like in a year from now or something like that and talk to these guys and be like, hey, this was way back in the day. Can I post it now? Because that would have been such a sick video. I actually took the time, made really cinematic footage, really good commentary. Like I probably spent like 4 hours on the video work alone. And then, the morning of gusting 37, 42 mile an hour.
Wow.
So I was literally laying there kind of trapped, and I eventually ended up launching with like probably 30 mile. That was the hardest launch of my entire life, hands down. I had about 35, 40 pounds of gear, so like a 1 wheel weight worth of gear. And I got off the ground after like 25, 30 minutes of nonstop with motor on my back, trying to fight the wind not to go into the water. Because the island's probably only as wide as maybe 60 foot, 70 foot. And then the width was like 400 or 500 feet. But yeah, the wind was coming on the 60 to 70 foot portion. So it was the hardest launch of my entire life. I was yelling, cursing. Like I have the whole video. I should just post some clips of it. I was so mad.
Mad Sloper says you can use your wing as a blanket or a windbreaker.
Oh, I did. Oh, I was there. Yeah, it did not keep me warm enough, though.
Couldn't use my towel as a blanket. I got a towel in my bedroom I can use as a lampshade.
Oh, shit.
We should stage a moment for me to use like later. I don't know. Get Chucky talking and I just stop him and be like, I think you're a piece of crap. All right.
Do something
Well,
more
I think
savage
your
than
face
that.
looks like roadkill.
Go for it, Chucky. Just give it right back to him now.
Yep.
I'm normally on a savage back unless you get in my face like Gorilla did. I was very savagery that day. I've got some good footage of that one, but I'm normally pretty polite. Even when people are assholes or dicks, I'm normally pretty respectful.
I will say that because I've been probably one of Chucky's top dicks. Wait, that's not wrong.
CBS.
That was wrong. That was wrong.
But
You knew it too.
the thing that one of my personal pet peeves is people with anger issues, and I gotta say, he didn't really have that.
No, I wasn't. I don't think I was ever rude. Maybe like a little contradictory, but like I was never a dick.
And I think that's what we like about you is you've always been a pretty decent, person. And very
Although
polite.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Although he does make me laugh a lot of the time. Like I see shit when he's going off on people. I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm not on the end of the stick anymore. Although it was fun. Like I love reading it though. Like this is great.
I try not to be mean though, and I will say like Chucky's one of maybe a few people that I've ever been like legit mean to. Usually, I'm only mean to
Let's see if people.
we can.
Let's see if we can find them. Let's see.
Usually, I'm only mean to people like if they're bringing up like non-flying related topics that are divisive. Like if people are arguing about like politics and religion, and someone's just like pushing somebody down and punching down. Chucky's probably like one of the few people like I'll admit I'm mean to. Not to say I'm right or wrong about it, but it was mean.
Don't be mean to Chucky.
Yeah, leave
Oh,
Chucky alone.
he was fine at that point in
Leave
time.
Chucky
He could be
alone.
mean at that point in time. Let's see.
Chucky's a nice person.
Like I used to comment on his videos and be like, "Hey Chucky, you eat any good books lately?" Like I was not nice.
That's just not like you, Steve, to be mean.
What?
It's not.
Well,
I'm trying to find one of his savage comments. He had some good ones. I gotta give him props. He had some savage comments. It was great.
Oh, so you do remember him.
Oh yeah. Nothing ever will top Rick or the PPG Gorilla making a legit video.
oh,
With the Hitler thing.
Hitler movie. Yeah, that was.
Wait, he's
yeah.
calming down now in his
I-
married life. His
I didn't think
married
he was
ways
capable
now.
of even editing a video like that.
Aaron says he's mean. I'm mean to Chucky all the time, but it doesn't mean we don't like him. It's sort of like they're being mean to the little kid.
That's
Wait.
bigger than all of them.
Randy says Angie's keeping Steve in line.
Oh, there it is. Just a reminder, Chuckster was a huge influence with my whole cross-dressing thing. After his McDonald's video, I put up a clickbait one to troll him, and y'all see what that turned into. There's and that was on what post? That was on Rick's post. Yeah, that's
y'all
funny.
better be careful. He's got more muscles than you do.
What's funny is so there was like a guy when I was first starting out. I said something. I wasn't being mean. I was just trying to be funny on one of his like he was kiting and putting his shoes on and he was like, check this out. And I said one of those things that I say, it wasn't to be mean or whatever.
Just joking.
I just it was a total joke. And oh man, that guy just came unglued. Well, I met him 6 months later. And within about 5 minutes, he was like, hey, dude. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, to this day, we're still friends, but.
No, in person with anyone, I haven't had an issue. Someone at the bathroom, it was actually funny at Bad Apples. Someone, I don't know. He was no, outside the bathroom. We're waiting on the line to go take a shower. You know how long those lines were there.
Like together?
I mean, if that's what you want to envision in your brain. I don't know who it was, but he's an instructor. I think it's like Carolina PPG or something like that. Whatever that guy is. He's like, you Chucky? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm not supposed to like you, but you're not half bad. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. That was like bathroom line talk. Great.
Yeah, like for as bad as like we could all be to each other, we got some like humanity to it. And it's like across the paramotor world. I think there's just so few of us in the spirit of what we have and what we do, we can kind of find that connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Travis wants to know if you're walking yet, Jade. Or running.
Absolutely not. Nope.
Who's been the person that's like kind of spoke to you the most, where they said something and was like, man, I didn't think about it that way? Would that person be like Trevor, or did you have someone else in the community that
Dude,
you kind of
what's his
drawn
name?
to the most?
Larry. I always got the most from him, and Matt Woodworth. He called me one time. He talked to me for like 2 hours on the phone over a lot of things.
Oh, Matt did?
Yeah.
Dang, I didn't think Matt called anybody.
Yeah, no, he messaged me on Facebook, and then he's like, "Give me a call, let's talk." And
Larry who?
Corral.
Yeah, he's like sitting up straight with glasses or something.
Yeah, Corral from Illinois.
Yeah, him and Matt Cowan. And then what's this guy's name? I don't really know if it's Todd Falstad.
Oh yeah, Todd. He's pretty helpful.
Jeremy says everyone is so mean on Facebook. Meeting people face to face is such a difference.
Yep.
He's right about that.
I'm not 100% sure Todd like disdains me or actually likes me. I kind of feel like maybe he doesn't, but he's been one of the most helpful people I've ever had. Like when he knows I'm going on a trip, he sends me a book of resources, even though I think I annoy the crap out of him.
And Tim too. Whatever the Tim guy hates to have to help me. Like he wants to be a dick, but he knows like in the background he messages me and he's commented a couple of things like politely and helps a lot. I don't know Tim, whatever. He's like a black and white profile picture.
Yeah,
he does like acro and shit too, but he's an older gentleman. He's like 60 probably.
So Warren is asking, Chucky, I feel like you got a lot of unwarranted hate. Do you think that comes from being self-trained? You seem like a cool dude.
I don't think self-trained has anything to do with it. I think just what I did has everything to do with it. Because there's going to be people that are self-trained that don't get in trouble and don't do anything wrong whatsoever.
Well, you could have also went and got training, and you would go on to do your mission flights or whatever you wanted, and it was okay. You wouldn't have learned that probably in training, I bet you. Like, I don't think there's enough communication with like
you just get taught how to fly.
Yeah.
And airspace is
what you did. What do you mean by what you did?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, plenty of like we all know dumb flights, like just stupid. I mean,
just flying where it's going to cause trouble.
Yeah, it could cause potential trouble or will cause trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have friends to tell you or that
I got
resource, be like, hey, you can go here. Like they don't teach that in a lot of training.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of blasted on the internet now. Like, hey, you want to go fly, make some friends, and talk to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not the instructor's responsibility to know everyone's hometown and what their LZ is and what they're gonna like. No, it's not their job either.
So flying over places that you really didn't know that you couldn't fly over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So none of them were intentional.
Breaking thing, like law-wise, no. The only one I thought was going to be the most questionable one was me flying a 17.5, but I knew I was in legal airspace. Like that legality stuff was all the way. The only thing I didn't legally do was I wasn't 500 foot left and right of one of the clouds, and that was literally it out of that whole video. So
good.
I still want an altimeter screenshot after that.
Dude, okay.
You don't have to do it right now.
I have it. I don't think he believed me when I first did it.
Mm-mm.
I don't think anyone, dude. Still, people don't believe it. People don't believe it. They're like, it's impossible to breathe that high. I'm like, no, it's not impossible to breathe that high.
Well,
guys.
I don't. The only reason why I question is because I've seen some of the older big guys having motor issues past 15,000, usually capping around like 15,600 and stuff. So that's why I questioned it.
No, dude, 87, whatever, 86, 80 was the RPM all the way. Like I was full throttle for an hour and 17 hour and 20 minutes, somewhere around there. And it only dropped to like 83, 80 the whole way. That motor had like 1.5 hours on it. It was brand new too. It had just gone through the break-in. I had like one flight on it. And then after that, I was like, you know what? Best time to do it. Brand new motor, top the tank off and go. Just 10 liters of fuel.
I am
Bueller.
trying to pull up
Bueller. No.
Is the comments even worth reading? I haven't read any of them yet.
I'm trying to find your pictures or so the one video that you sent me with that I had in the intro with the clouds, is that the one where you flew up that high? You had a jacket on, yellow helmet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do a second. Yeah.
So
No, I didn't even. No, I didn't send you that. No, I didn't send you like my highest flight.
yeah.
No, I didn't send you that here.
So Brian said, "Oh, this must be a conversation between them."
How old are you, Chucky? I forgot.
How do I look?
26.
Old enough?
You got to put a number on it. Come on.
25. No, 30.
I'll say
Did Eric say 30?
Yes.
Damn, I'm not that old, dude.
I was gonna say 28.
Yeah, I'm 28.
Okay.
You look 28.
Seems right. Old enough.
Oh my gosh, some people are goofy.
Oh, sorry, Wheezy. I'm looking at you.
No, Travis said he looks 40. That's such a lie.
I didn't know it
Shane
was
said he
40.
looks 32. No, you don't look 40.
8. All right. Any other questions for Chucky? Chucky
I
said
don't have anything.
Chucky said he is willing to stick around for a few minutes if any of you want to join in the after show. So I will put that link in the chat. Just remember to use Google Chrome. Mad Sloper, thank you. And he's
Here's
glad
a question.
to meet Chucky.
Here's a question from
Okay.
Jeremy.
Oh, I can't answer this one, Jeremy.
Oh,
I can. I just it's coming. It's just not this year, or it's like towards the end of next year
okay.
Okay.
for Joe Rogan.
So, don't forget to watch Robert Michaels' show tomorrow night. And then Monday nights, Linda's show.
Linda's show.
Yep. She says it's her show.
It's her show. That's right.
She does all the work.
It's Linda Anderson show on Monday night.
Who do we got next week?
Oh, let me look that up. Keep talking well. Keep entertaining, Steve.
I'm done. You don't pay me by the hour. You gave me $20. This is all I get.
All I get, all I give.
That's all Angie needs is $20.
Mm-hmm.
We
20
have
bucks. is 20
another
bucks.
Floridian, Jesse Wyrick,
Oh, I know, Jesse. Okay.
Cocoa Beach.
Why do I know that name?
Oh, here we go.
Linda
Yeah, I
said,
know.
dang straight, Jade.
All right.
Oh, I met Jesse at Bad Apples. That dude's tall as hell.
Yeah, yeah. It's a pretty tall dude.
Oh, was that your first time to any fly-ins, Chucky?
Besides Walter's RC Park in Michigan, yeah,
Okay.
where my motor exploded. So,
When
yeah.
are you going to come up to Torchport and see us?
I would love to do that flying. I was in Utah. That's the second. So my first trip to Utah, I separated my AC joint, my shoulder, skateboarding the first day like an idiot. And then I had to go back out because I was actually going to just literally just show up at Torchport. I had my paramotor up in Michigan, and I was like, I'm just going to show up there. And then Trevor's like, come out for this advance. We'll do just me and you and like 2 others. And I'm like, okay, like there we go. So they crossed.
All right. Well, maybe next year.
Yeah, I'm down.
Cool. We'll be there, I think. Anybody want to join? I'm going to put the link in one more time. and we're going to say goodnight. And if you guys want to say hi to Chucky or ask him any questions off the feed, you can do that. Otherwise, have a good night and see you all next week.
Good night, everybody.
If we don't see you on there, we'll see you in the air.
If you're interested in being on the show Just Want to Fly, you got great stories of how you got into the sky, let us know. Share your stories.
Nothing is untrue, nothing don't matter. It's all notions of our emotions, of everything we are, what we belong to, how we reach our destiny.